Okay, now for our second Q&A. We're just basically touching base on all the things that we've worked on so far. We're going a little bit further in depth on what we're going to be working on in the upcoming weeks and months, as well as what has been going on recently, and like covering anything else that anyone may have actually thought of recently. And we'll be doing these. Excuse me. We'll be doing these periodically every so often as well, whenever we have big news. But this was our first week of programming, so yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. That's I'm pretty happy about that. And even in the first week, we've done a lot. We've actually done a lot.
Yeah, we actually have. Um, but yeah, I feel first we should explain why we push things back. So the reason we push things back is because we did get a lot of response um
Mm-hmm.
from the community about needing demos and not coming with people with just ideas, and we agreed. Um, which is why now we're working with the programmer. We're going to get you guys some demos before we come with the Kickstarter, so we'll have something solid and concrete to show you guys once we come with our offerings, so to speak.
Right.
Oh, first question from Nathan Yume. Can we get a list
Okay,
of at
please.
least some of the Kickstarter rewards so we know how much money we need to keep apart for VocaTone? Some of us minors only get money on special occasions like Christmas, so we need to save the money until needed. Okay.
Um,
Um,
I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, granted, I will say this: this is tentative, and this could possibly change as we get further along, and we may add more. We may take some away, but this is only tentative at this time. And so let me pull that up for you really quickly. Um, Give me one quick second. And where it is. Okay. So we do have we do have a couple that are probably gonna stay about the same. But some of them may change a little bit. So we do have the $5 tier, which is the one that's just like a thank you tier. Like that's nice. And it has with that you'll get a nice voice recording of Arm and Audie and being like, thank you so much for donating. Thank you for all your help, as well as some of the concept art, a wallpaper, and your name goes on the final thank you roll, and that's for the $5 tier. Very simple. But it's also you get it's a nice little thing where you get to hear Arm and Audine being like, "Thank you so much," and that will be done in English, Japanese, and Spanish. They'll be just saying thank you. It's gonna be like a kind of generic thank you message, but it's still really cute. Um, and for the $10 tier, you get both of those, but you get 5 additional recordings. These are like speech recordings, like being they're kind of like talking about. It's usually just a small, simple recording. These are mostly fan merch of Arm and Audine, not as much related to the software itself, and that's why these are the lower tiers, is because they're just simple fan merch. You also get added to a monthly, and this is one that I like I said is tentative, so we might end up just making this on our Twitter mostly. You'd also get a monthly review on all the things that we've worked on that month. It's very simple. And then the $20 tier adds on the invitation to the development Discord, where you can view all the things that we're doing. You can ask us a little bit more questions. You can see what things are, and you can get updates basically by the second, even before they're even posted on Twitter. And even some of the more, as funny as it is to say, more the glitchy stuff where we can be like, whoops, today this turned out weird, but tomorrow we're gonna fix it. Like that's one of the things that we're gonna show as well, like any weird glitches, and that'll allow you to even hear like more of the software as it comes along. Okay, and then we did a $35 tier, and this is once again a tentative one, and it allowed stickers and buttons. Basically everything's the same, but you also get some stickers and buttons. $50 tier, you also get 5 more recordings, 100 sound bites, a mouse pad, and a keychain. So this is where we start getting into some more merch related stuff. And then the one that I think most people are going to be excited for is the $100 tier, which is the beta tester, where you get the software before anyone else. I will say this. There's 2 different $100 tiers. There is one that allows you to get all the fun little like trinkets and stuff, and toys and stuff. Yeah. But it also allows you to have, we are giving these, are working on developing these things that I like to call training voice banks. And training voice banks are voice banks that are recorded by professional people. A lot of them may be people that have already recorded for vocal synths in the past, so they know what they're doing, and it's going to be handed to the voicers of the actual commercial line to be looked at. So it's going to be training them, because it is kind of a little bit difficult to record for a vocal synth. It's a little mouth movie. It's a little awkward. Yeah. So you will be getting those. The other $100 tier, though, is, once again, the thank you recordings from Arm and Aldine. Concept art, wallpaper, name goes on thank you. But you also get a pre-order for Arm and Aldine that you can get them earlier. So you can get them maybe, like, we might have it even, like, I'm not sure exactly how early because it depends on time frames and stuff, but anywhere from like 2 weeks to a month early. As well as you also still get to be able to be a beta tester. And like the Discord stuff. But this is like you get like the Discord, the beta tester, but you don't get all the like things like the trinkets and stuff. That's a nice one because it's a pre-order one. And you get Arm and Aldine early, and you still have the training voice banks. These training voice banks are not like commercial voice banks. They're just literally made to show the voice actors or the singers how it's recorded. So, yeah.
So next question. Good explanation, Atai. Oh my goodness. But how much progress has been made since the last Q&A? Is there anything that has changed that we should know about? We actually did something cool yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a Unicode. I feel like I'm not going to explain this right. Can you please explain this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Maghni is about the keychain one. Can we gift our physical stuff to someone else if we can't receive that kind of stuff? Oh, never mind. Get the one. Oh, yeah. Okay, so C++ is not necessarily Unicode friendly because it's a little bit of an older programming language. It's usually more made for it's usually more ASCII related, so like anything that you find on your keyboard. What was I going to say? Yeah, the ASCII one, which is for your keyboard. But Unicode is basically anything that's I'm not 100. This goes into like a little bit more of like technological linguistics, but it allows for anything that's off the keyboard. So it includes like Japanese characters, Chinese characters, like anything
like
that's not on the Western standard keyboard. And so that includes IPA. And we realized that a lot of C++ does not allow for that. And that's not a thing that you want when it comes to vocal synthesis, because that means that you can't not only allow IPA in the phonetic editing, but it also makes it difficult if you want to type something in Japanese. You'd have to only use Romaji, which is not great. But the thing that we did add Unicode support, but we realized something really quickly. For some reason, it was glitching that when we would do RTL languages, right to left, so like Hebrew, Arabic, or like any languages that use the Hebrew alphabet, the Arabic alphabet. I think those are the only major ones that like exist alphabet-wise. It would do a weird thing where it would, like, the first letter would be fine, but all the middle letters would be all jumbled. So like an example of that is the Hebrew word sus, which means horse. Instead of it being like SUS or SVS, actually, it'd be like SSV. And that was a glitch that we didn't like, but we ended up fixing that. So now Maghni has full Unicode support, including for RTL languages.
Day 2 of programming.
Yeah, and that was really fast that we got that. Another thing that we did is I'm actually editing the tier list now so I can actually make it a little bit better. One quick second.
I could answer this one. About the keychain one, can we gift our physical stuff to someone else if we can't receive that kind of stuff? I'm pretty sure that you could just put, someone else's address for where we're gonna send stuff to. Basically. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. Natalia, right? Just to make like 100% sure that when they sign up, they could be like, oh, send it over here instead of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it does account for if you want that merch to be if you want that merch to be like sent to you, it does account for like if there's several different like fundraising websites actually allow for that to happen. If you like live overseas, it will account for that and do shipping and handling costs. So that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but like that as our $100 tier is perfect for other people who are overseas. Oh, another thing that we updated. We actually developed a new system of labeling phonemes. So the way that it
Mm-hmm.
exists is this was something that I actually came up with is certain vocal sense, and this is vocal aid is one of them, I think, as well as deep vocal phonemes are labeled. So what that means is these are labeled as vowels. These are labeled as plosives. These are labeled as nasals and liquids. I don't like the term liquids, but it's like it's basically you know, it's anything that you can stretch, but it's not a vowel. So like the n sound or the m sound or the ng or the l. And then there's like semi-vowels, and then there's fricatives, which are like anything that like air passes through. So like the f as in fun or the v as in very. And so what we did is we
Mm-hmm.
added the ability that some phonemes are labeled as sibilants because so there's a thing. Sibilants are a type of fricative that usually occur in the alveolar. Well, they don't usually. They occur in the alveolar region where it has, because of its location and because of formants and the placement in the mouth, it produces a higher frequency. And so, even though they do function the same, we actually have set it so that it will be registered as a sibilant, which means that it'll actually have a low pass filter applied to it. So it'll actually remove a lot of the harshness on like the S sounds, the Z sounds, the J sound, and it'll make it sound a lot more natural and a lot less harsh on the ears, which I hear sometimes in certain vocoders. So it'll make it sound a lot more natural, and we actually developed a new way of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really fun. And it was actually pretty easy to do. Are these pricings in USD? They are. But you can actually auto
Mm-hmm.
convert it using most websites. You said the Kickstarter will be
Right.
pushed back by 6 months. Is that subject to change if the development goes faster or longer? It's going to be 6 months. If it goes longer, yes, it will be more than 6 months. But if it goes faster, that means that you just get better times at the 6 months anyways. That means this project is going to be even better. If it turns out that like the 6 months is actually 4 months, we're still going to put it at the 6 months because we want to still make sure everything is still functioning. 6 months is to get us like at a good stage. We want to get us to an excellent stage.
Mm-hmm. I
Um.
like your fan art, by the way, Izzy G. That's super cute.
Oh, that's really cute. Oh, that's really cute.
April Fool's. April Fool's. Jeez.
I'm gonna like that.
She lives.
Um.
Nathan Yumekoa says, I can't remember if it was asked. Well, Maghni AI have custom UI palette support instead of just pre-made ones.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
We do
Okay.
have an a default. I do want a default light and dark UI because, like I said, I prefer a light one because it's easier on my eyes. But some people prefer a dark one because it's easier to work with if it's a little harsh on the eyes. Um, but even several voice banks will come with it, and we may even add, if it's not like too many hop skips and jumps away, um, we may even allow it that you could actually make your own. That could be a thing. It's not that. I mean, it's. I have Studio One, and it's not that hard to change the UI because my Studio One is purple, and one of my friends has theirs in like fire truck red. Don't know how you can work with that, but
It's a look. Um, this is not related to the Kickstarter, so forgive me. It's okay. But I have a question regarding arms pronouns. Is it up to each individual producer, or do they concretely use they, them, theirs? There's a constant discussion on Twitter, so I'm a little confused. Okay.
do you want me to handle this
So
one?
we
Because I
have
actually
been,
wanted to talk about voices actually.
let me answer super
Sure.
quick. But we've been using they, them, theirs this whole time. We can't control everyone, but
Right.
anytime you hear us talk about them, it's going to be they, them, their. So that's our answer. We would hope that we could all, you know, yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, and I think
But
like one thing that I actually wanted to touch on with that is like, um, I think like I don't want to get their name wrong, but Dudu Danyon,
what?
the person right after Eve.
Oh, dang it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Dudu
Pretty
Danyon.
sure they're just...
Yeah, they're considered a mass voice thing. They haven't given arm or I think it's supposed to say Adine, any gender or character if I remember. Okay, so
Mhm.
one thing I want to touch on is we do label Maghni voice banks by their FOC classification. And I don't know if there's anyone here who's German, but basically the FOC system was developed by someone FOC. FACH. It was developed by... Okay. This is developed by... I have no idea. It has no list. Oh! Okay, it's a term. It's short for the term Fache. And it's basically it was a way that they classified voices past just soprano, alto, tenor, or bass. And what it would do is it would actually allow it that people could not only describe the actual pitch of the voice, but the timbre. And I do think a lot of people think, oh, soprano, oh, that must be female. But there are male sopranos. There's quite a few male sopranos. There's several females that are more in the tenor range. Like, I would say that we relegate people to it based on their gender, but not necessarily... one quick second. I apologize. We relegate it to people based on their gender, but if we look at someone like Nina Simone fits very well into the tenor range, while someone like a young Justin Bieber was actually a pretty good mezzo-soprano. So I do think that is that, but we do base it on their FOC classifications. And if you look at someone like Ariana Grande versus Mariah Carey versus Whitney Houston's a mezzo-soprano. If we look at Mariah Carey versus Ariana Grande, they're both sopranos, but they're both two very different types of sopranos. Mariah has more heft to her voice. Ariana has a more lightness to her voice. Ariana is a lyric soprano, while Mariah is a dramatic soprano. So calling Aram I think, what did we label Aram as? I think an Italian Escher soprano, or Italian Escher soprano, Italian Escher tenor, doesn't really affect their gender. It's just their vocal range and their vocal timbre. While Adine is a spinto soprano, which is just Adine's like timbre and range. So like if we could even have like male characters that are technically sopranos, or female characters that are technically baritones. It just describes their range and their actual timbre. So that goes into like the gendering of voices is like, and that's been an issue for years in the opera field. So we want to kind of like use that as that, like, this just explains their voice type, not have anything. It doesn't have to do anything with their gender. You don't ever have to like. At the core of it, arm is an instrument, so we don't have to like. Just use they them. It's yeah. I started rambling about voices. I apologize.
You're fine. Oh, we're just passionate.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
What?
I have a question. Would Maghni AI release its Android port? I think it's going to be a little bit too far in the game to talk about anything like mobile editors. Yeah, but I actually talked about this a while back, as I would love a mobile editor, because I feel like that's something that's like a lot of people compose from their tablets. Tablets are a really popular thing to compose from now, and I would love that if we could like use that as a way.
So I haven't seen a lot of discussion about it, but I know a friend was definitely worried about it. If you can disclose, will Audie be voiced by a person of color? I know some people would like a character of color be voiced by a person of color. So we do have contracts.
We have
I'm not
NDAs.
allowed to disclose any personal information about the voicers. That's all I can say on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But we do have several voices that are voiced by people of color. That is like a major thing, and that like, but because of the way that like Audine's voicer is set up, she doesn't like. But yeah, but a lot of the voices are based around the people who voice them. Like they are based around them in like design and like the things that they would wear. So like yeah, and like yeah, it's based around them. So, but we can't say who she is or like, it's you know how legal stuff works.
Thanks. The pronouns and pricing were what I was here to find out. Well, glad we can answer your question. Double checking from the text chat to not interrupt the flow of the Q&A. The highest tier is going to be what? That's going to be like 5,000, right?
Yeah, it's 5,000. And that's relative to change. We could add a new tier.
US dollars.
Yeah, USD. And it's fine. I understand NDAs can be tricky, and yeah, and it was she was more the one who wanted a little bit of one, and I understand her privacy because several Vocaloid voicers have even wanted privacy. I realize that you're unable to speak on certain voice banks from Vocaloid coming to Maghni AI, Oliver, Yohio Lloyd, Big Owl Suite, and definitively. But what does the process look like? Are companies like PowerFX even open to communication with you guys? Are there legalities that make it impossible? Austin, you want to take this one?
That's kind of another thing that legally we're kind of working on,
Yeah.
and we could tell you things, but it would kind of throw our plans off of place. So please be patient regarding with our work with other companies. I promise you we've got stuff coming and information regarding that.
Yeah. Um, what will be the first tier that includes a voice bank after launch be? $100, I think. Yes, and the good thing about that is I already noted that it is going to be about $85 per voice bank. But if you buy several voice, like if you buy like certain ones in a line together, it will be cheaper. So let's say you buy Audine, like Audine English and Japanese, it'll be like um 85 plus 85 is 150, or not 85 plus 85. It'll make it the two $85 voice banks brings them down to 150. But if you get all three, it's probably about like close to 200ish. But if you actually do it on the Kickstarter, you're gonna get all three voice banks for just 100, which is a lot cheaper that way. Will the $100 make you choose between Audine or ARM? Yeah, it's because it's a little bit Audine and ARM are going to be kind of difficult to like. They're going to be still expensive to produce, but yeah, the $100 will make you choose between Audine or ARM. But it would actually be that's going to be the cheapest way to get them, anyways. Cheaper than like actually buying it through the website later. Have you finished the engine? It's been 3 days. Yes, we already got it done. Are you guys ready?
Um, so follow up to
Oh, I see
Nathan
that.
Yumiko's question. So we can assume there will be a 200 USD of both. Wait, did you already answer that?
Actually, no, I didn't see that part. Actually, we could add a $200 tier that'll have both. That's a good idea.
Ooh,
Like it's a $200 tier. We do actually have a. Could a user record their own voice bank to Maghni in a similar way to a Tahoe?
I mean, like
Unfortunately,
in in principle, yes, but it's not going to be open source.
yeah, it's not
So,
gonna be open
but
source.
we do have plans in the future to want to work with groups of users who can create samples and voice banks, maybe pass a quality test, so we can maybe help people actually create startups with the software. We are still making this business model, but we do want to be less restrictive than other programs on creative liberties and pricing wise.
And right now, I just added the $200 tier because that was a really good question. I really liked that.
Hmm.
Oh wait, shoot, wrong color. There we go. Bam! I added a $200 tier specifically for you to get Aram and Audine pre-ordered.
How is the demo being funded? Out of VocaTone's pocket or through other means? It's going straight out of our pocket.
It's
We
coming
got to get
straight out of
this
our
to you.
pockets, and so I will say it's expensive because we are young. We are probably around the same age as most of you guys, but it is coming out of our pockets. But
We're doing our best. We
it's
really want to get stuff to you guys. We really want to listen to you guys. So,
and we're not a big company,
gotcha.
so like. But the thing is when you are working on something that you're passionate in, it costs money, and it's something that you have to work towards, and that's what we're doing. It's having to come
Hmm.
directly from us. But you know, it's a thing. It's How extensive would UI customization be?
Oh,
Completely personalizing the icons, assets, fonts would be really cool, like a texture level. Um, we haven't thought about that part
yes.
yet. It would be amazing. I actually really like that.
Same.
I did want to change. I did want it to have that people could choose between serif and sans fonts, and especially because sometimes the uppercase I and the lowercase l are difficult for me to read in sans fonts.
Hmm.
I can't like they look. It reminds me of that picture of Paula Deen, and she wrote oil, but she put capital O, lowercase I, and then capital I instead of OIL. Or was it Rachel Ray? But like to me, I would have been like, oh, still looks the same.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, it's what is it? Different text is accessible, right? Like, wasn't
Yeah.
there a specific kind of font where it's like very accessible to people who have trouble, I think, with like dyslexia?
Yeah, there's several dyslexic fonts, and that's one of the good things about serif fonts. We won't do Comic Sans, we won't do Joker, but we will do a nice serif font that people will find easy to read. Will the Kickstarter be accelerated the harder I throw my money at it? If
Yes.
we do actually reach a certain like funding threshold, we could take on a second developer. Right now, like, and I mean like like a second
Yeah.
like constant developer, not like picking up people here and there like we would do before, but we would be able to have a straight developer.
Hmm.
Um, and if we had that was if we had enough money and had enough like that overflow, we could do that. By fonts, I meant more than just serif / non-serif, but like load whatever font you want into the program at their own compatibility risk. I do think that would be a little bit more difficult for the sole fact that C++ programs are just not easy to do. Like we like I said, it took us about 2 days whole to be able to just add in like Unicode period, and so that would be a little bit. And it might even like with certain fonts, it might make it difficult for the thing that like a lot of fonts would need a lot of extra characters. Let's say if we're writing a song in Chinese, it may be lacking on that. So we'll see about that, but it's not like off the table. We could add extra fonts anyways.
Uh-huh. We'll
Um,
definitely relay the thought to our programmer because that'd be pretty fun. Wario94 says, what would happen if you could talk with Nintendo for create many different original Inkling characters as voice banks? That'd be fun. Tell Nintendo to hit us up. I'm down.
yeah,
Um,
someone, if anyone of you work at Nintendo, please tell them that we do want to make a Bowser voice bank. No,
yes,
it would be, but
I
like I would
would.
love it. That's one of the fun, like most fun things is about, and now what a lot of people liked about Vocaloid was it was your favorite character was there was a lot of really cool collaboration events.
Didn't you want to do one with
Barbie,
Barbie?
my
Oh
dream
my
is Barbie,
goodness.
because I think that Barbie's a really good one because something that I knew growing up because is as a little girl there's not a lot of women that are composers. There's a lot of women on the front, that are singers, pop stars, blah blah blah, and a lot of them did know a lot of piano, but a lot of them were not producers. And I think Barbie would be a great way to get young women into producing. She can do anything. This is just me like talking about like my interests. I mean, a SpongeBob voice bank would be just as fun, but yeah, but like Barbie's the one that I have the biggest dreams of because I think, and I love Barbie. I think she's like such a strong icon. She can do anything she wants. Why can't she be a virtual instrument?
Seriously. And like you said, like since she is like a giant market for like, younger girls, it's like if she came with instructions to like write songs and stuff like that, it really could be a way to spread like knowledge of music theory and music composition.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I thought that was a pretty cool idea when you said
yeah.
it.
What
It's a
is the
great idea
goal?
and I really want to do it someday.
What is the goal
What is
for
the
the
goal?
demo after 6 months? Will it be simple, just the engine / command line, or more complete with the editor in a working state? At the 6 months, when you guys would be getting the beta version of the software, it would be it would be more complete. It would like,
Mhm.
the UI may not be at the whole entire stage we want it. It doesn't mean like all the features may not be there, and all the features will be added as more time comes on. All the nice bells and whistles. At first, the UI may look a little bit scruffy because we're still like the UI is one of the things that come closer to the end. Um, but like by the time of the 6 months, it will be pretty much like a feasible thing. If you
Mhm.
if you can divulge more on where did I go? If that happened, we'd get so many lawsuits from Nintendo for using voice mix. Oh yeah, that was just like if it was a
Valid.
collaboration. If you can you divulge
Yeah.
more on the development plan you have right now since the Kickstarter has been delayed? Like you mean like what we're doing next? One of the things we're doing next is um one thing is we want to be able to retain qualities of the actual voicers. We want to be able to retain qualities of the actual voicers while also keeping it pretty flexible. And so we are adding like relatively soon. The next feature I think we're adding is the ability for it to recognize the pitch of the sample. So like if you like go it'll be like, oh, this is a C#3, and then it will look at that, make a standardized version, and still keep it with like the standard of quality. So it recognizes the pitch and it's a proximity to everything, as well as the frequency domain that exists within it. So that is one of the things that we
Mhm.
are working on next. Um, so we're basically working on like pitch recognition, and that will make it also easier for us to be able to measure everything. So let's say it's like, because everything on an instrument is, or like it's supposed to be equal tempered, and if we're looking at middle C is at 440 hertz. C3 is 220, C1 is 110, and then C0 is 55 or whatever, I think. And then
Mhm.
everything in accordance with that actually has a similar thing. So if we like relegate it to a certain pitch, it will be able to keep the same numerical value will repeat throughout. So it is going to be easy once we actually have pitch recognition to actually relegate it to that on numerical values. So that's not going to be the biggest thing. The biggest thing right now is we're just adding the ability for it to recognize the pitch and also relate it to its closest possible note. Okay,
Mhm.
actually, this is a question I think you would like, Austin. What would be the
What?
policy for fanloids, gender bends, slight alternates, obviously with crediting the original voice bank?
Oh, I'm thinking like Kasane Keko, the one with the green Kasane Tetsuo that was voiced by Kagamine Len or something.
Anyway,
I don't
yeah.
really I don't see a problem with it. I'm not really sure what policy you mean. I mean, go crazy? I don't know. Um, like maybe if you could be maybe more specific, but I encourage fan derivative works,
Yeah.
you know?
Like, yeah, Kasana Keko was. Okay, if you guys want a real throwback, Circus P used to have a custom, or like a fanloid named Kasana Keko, which was um, a green Kasana Teto. And
Basically.
I know I'm gonna get a message from him later being like, why did you tell everyone this? um, um, but yeah, he's going to he had a derivative that was even I can't forget Keko. Yeah, don't harass him about it, but he did do that, and like we brought that up in call when the last time we spoke with him. But yeah, I didn't realize this was going to be a making users feel old Q&A. We talked with him. I was like, I remember your first song.
Oh,
Uh,
one sec. I think we missed a few.
Oh, we're still up. That was still on. I was just reading from the bottom. Barbie has been making a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
positive vlogs, and she is honestly the type of person I would imagine would agree if you hit them up about Maghni AI is finished. I
Oh,
will
I
say
hope so.
really quickly, I do have a slight fear of working with Barbie. Is we would have to edit the phonetic dictionary that Barbie cannot say swear words. Because if little girls are going to be
True.
working with it, they're going to be like, hey, hey, I'm going to make it say butt or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Would you be open to the idea of having Aram and Adine or other potential Maghni AI voice banks appear in other mediums in the future, comics, animation, etc.? Yes,
Yes.
we would.
Oh
We
my
actually
goodness,
talked
yes.
about this was just like a kind of quick mention, but me and Crossy, our artist, talked about a video game. Maybe something like a mystery, like a murder mystery game, because I think those are super fun. Like something that's not like I do think a lot of like derivative fan works tend to be so much about the characters that it's just like a. It seems like just the character waving at you for 5 minutes, and then that's the whole entire game. I would love it if it's like a very like detailed, and it actually is a could stand on its own as a really fun game or whatever.
Actually,
Like,
there is a fan game. Sorry. Oh my goodness, I just want to give like top credit to this fan game. There's this one game called After School. And it features I don't remember who it's by, but they are so talented. I'm sorry that the name's not on top of my head, but it's a fan game that features Oliver, Fukase, Yuto, and Miku. It is so good. It's made in RPG Maker, one of them, and it's its own standalone story. It's like a murder mystery. Not really. It's kind of Yume Nikki-ish. I don't know. There was a lot of effort into it. It's like its own standalone video game. It's amazing. yeah, so basically we would love for you to make games. You guys are super talented, and
Yeah.
when you guys do things, it's freaking great.
We will have
And
licensing
I
for the
eat it up like
characters,
that's crazy.
but that doesn't mean that
Huh?
like we do have licensing for the characters, but that doesn't mean that if you guys are developing a fighting game, we couldn't use RM in a fighting game within the like the legal standings of our contracts with them. That'd be super cool. Something like that. Like it would
Yeah.
be yeah. Like once again, like
Oh,
I said,
Eddie.
it is an instrument, but I still like I still like the characters. And once Mizbah even after we're developing our own vocals, we're still gonna have character designs. It's just we're more focused on like a different standpoint. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
if you want to, yeah. Would you? Oh, will you have a sort of
Oh,
development
but
blog? Since we now have to wait
sorry,
for. Oh, what?
I I keep like
No, go
looping in and
ahead.
out. Just to backtrack a little bit, After School was apparently made by, or it was made by Eddie, aka Ed Dink Lover. Good job. You did a great job. We loved it. Please make more. Even if it's non-Vocaloid related, you got some talent. But okay. Anyways, going on, will you have a sort of development blog since we now have to wait for a development Discord? We were thinking using our Twitter as a development
Yeah.
blog, saying like every now and then when something new happens, we'll be like, oh, today we da 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 da. Since we were like noticing that as we're beginning development, you're kind of like, oh, we were supposed to have people in like the people that we wanted part of this to be in here. So it's kind of sad that we didn't get to that point and we don't have people coming in, but we could definitely bring what we have out to Twitter and show it to you guys through there.
Right.
And in that way, you don't even need to pay. You guys can, see what's happening
Yeah.
for free.
It'll be like almost like
But
when you are get an update for The Sims, and you see on The Sims it'll be like, today you can no longer fist fight the Grim Reaper or whatever. That was yeah, that was an update. But you'll be able to see like play where I'm gonna create and I've been like keeping it up really closely. You'll be able to see a play by play of every single thing that we've added for each section. Oh, today we've implemented an improvement to this. Today we've done this for this section. It will be done section by section. That will be like, oh, today we've added support for like improved support for German. We've added this. We've added like an improvement for RTL languages. We've added um support for whatever. And like we will include that probably at the end of every month, or at least every tech like development month.
Mhm.
And so you guys will see that. And unless there's like something that's major that would have a huge breakthrough, like then we'll also include those and possibly even like demos as they come along, including like somewhat beta versions of the demos, so you guys can actually hear what it sounds like at the beginning versus at the end, which will be really cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Miku NT, for example, doesn't allow non-Krypton approved derivatives slash fanloids. What does that mean? Like, do they like sue them?
how would
Like,
they
if
know?
there's fanloid?
Like because there was
I don't
back,
know.
I remember back in the Okie Smoky days, there used to be so many of them. So how
No
do we
one
know if
has
it's
any
based off
idea.
Miku NT or not?
That's true. Maybe it's just based off Hatsune Miku Vocaloid. I don't know. That doesn't seem to be a problem for us. I don't see a problem in people doing that. Yeah, no. I don't understand what they're doing, but we're not gonna. No.
Yeah,
You guys can totally do your fan spin-offs. Please do. Um, yeah. Even I can't forget Keiko. Yeah, love her. Um, RM and Audine, I feel would work really well in a plot where they're time travelers from different eras, one from the past and one from the future. I think
yeah,
that's their whole like thing, isn't it?
yeah.
Like
Arm like
the
was kind of
past and
like
the
a little more.
future.
Yeah, Arm's a little bit more steampunk based, while Audine's a little bit more cyberpunk based, and that's why like Arms
Hmm.
is like based on like War of the Worlds and like he's like the radio announcer, and like Audine's more of like TV. Um, and so like
Yeah.
that's why like it was the theme was like Android's Dream of Electric Sheep was kind of like a little bit of the motif. Um, Eddie,
Didn't
yeah, they're talking about the fan game. Arm for
didn't
Smash.
realize this was going to be a make some users feel old Q&A. Yeah, Crew Miley, you've been in here with us for a while too. I remember seeing you around Vocaloid Otaku. Glad to be here in some solidarity with some of the elders, which I am one of.
You're an ancient.
Jeez. Jeez. Um, Love it. Still love you guys. I'll be here until I die. Um, oh my God, Arm for Smash. Yeah, sure. Um, Plot twist, Arum is another sword character. Oh goodness.
And they wield a toothbrush.
These are Our
Okay.
Misbah vocal design's gonna be like Cyber Diva slash Songman or Leon slash Lola. I kind of thought that.
Um.
But you take this.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'll say. Uh. I want them to have still designs. I still want them to have designs. And they might even still be a little bit like, still a little bit anime influenced. Like I said, the designs are on everything. And I do like. I think one of the biggest things about Vocaloid was this. One of the things is we were talking about this, and Vocaloid came out during the same time as, or like Miku came out. Excuse me, Miku came out at the same time as Idolmaster, and that's one of the reasons that Miku had her kind of thing. And so we also were looking at like certain things like collaborations, and that's why Rin and Lin have the voicer of an Idolmaster voice actor, which is Asami Shimoda voiced Ami and Mami Futami. And so we are like, I do think like for a while Yamaha didn't really care about the fandom, and they actually went out their way to avoid acknowledging it for the longest time. And that's why they were like, VY1 and VY2 is ours, here you go, do something with it. And then people drew fan art of it, and they were like, well, it's something. And finally, I think Yamaha for a short while acknowledged the fandom, and then they went back to not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still want designs, because I think fan art is one of the best ways for a community to communicate. Look at like all the art
Mhm.
of like one of the reasons that like Undertow was so big was because of fan art. It allowed people to like really like, and like, because Vocaloid basically works, or like Vocal Sense as a whole work in an AU type of environment where Miku can be a pop star in one song, and then in another song she's a crime fighting diva from space, and in another song she's um an alien or whatever. Like it's like each one is
Mhm.
different. It's basically an AU, which is what like an alternate universe is what it kind of built it up and like allowed people to do. And it was a large part was fan created. So yeah, we're still gonna do designs. Seduce the Grim Reaper. NT sounds Miku NT sounds a bit different from Vocaloid. That's how I can tell at least. Yeah, she does. But yeah, speaking of the no bad words rule, it reminds me of the very similar no bad words rule for Tsukuyomi Shota, Tsukuyomi Ai, and Yoshida Kun. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the biggest thing about it is like, I don't know about. Here's the thing about Shota and Ai is they were aimed at a different crowd. Is they were just aimed at anyone. And I don't know very many kids that are into speech synthesizers as a whole. But Barbie Lloyd would
Mhm.
be more aimed at an educational background. You could use her for anything. You could use her to like sing jazz or whatever. But she would be aimed at a more like educational background for kids. And
Mhm.
yeah, we might even have like a line that's like specifically for a little bit more for education. But you know, Aldine 2077. Hopefully, she'll probably work better than Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh
She won't be as
no.
rushed.
Oh no.
I want my
Jeez.
drawing tablet now so I can make some RM pixel art. Oh, that's cute. Um, um, avoided Vocaloid Otaku. Yeah, Vocaloid Otaku was, but Vocaloid Otaku is how VocaTone got started back in the day. It was a big
Yeah.
thing, and that's where Oliver was first announced. And I think people forgot like how crazy that was. That like for like Austin especially was like, people at first people were like, oh, this is like something made up. This isn't a real thing. They thought people were pulling the leg, and then they messaged some people, and like some very official people were like, no, this is happening. Oliver's a real thing, and it was a fan created project way before a lot of like this was the first. I think Oliver was the first team based project, because they were the first
Was
ones
it?
that, yeah,
I mean,
they came before he
well, I
came
mean,
before like Vocalo Markets or Vocalo Markets, came before a lot of the other ones, and like he was the first one.
maybe like a fan like assembled group for sure. I could totally agree with that.
Yeah, but it's still like it's
Dang.
crazy that like we're old. Um, but fan art
We're
got
so old.
my fan art got retweeted by VocaTone's Twitter account. I'm internet famous. That's cute.
It's true.
Asami Shimoda is a very lovely and friendly person. I've never met Asami Shimoda, but I did meet Yu Asakawa, and she signed my Megarina Luca V2 box. Very, very cool person. Very nice.
I want to meet one of them. Jeez.
Yeah. The Shade. Probably talking about.
The 2077. I haven't even played that game.
It needs a couple updates, but you know. Barbie is followed by a surprising amount of adults too. Her vlogs are great. Yeah, and that's like something.
Hmm.
Does Barbie count as a VTuber? I'd count her as one.
Kind of.
She's kind of a VTuber.
Huh. Yeah.
They even discuss serious topics like racism in a very good manner. TLDR, stand Barbie. I agree. But yeah, that's like. So the next thing we are working on is we are still working on Arm and Adine, testing out new methods. And I've even tested out some like recording methods on what sounds natural, because it not only has to work in the engine, which is like whatever, but it has to be easy for the voicers to record. And so originally, there was the Vocaloid 2 recording list, which was kind of gibberish based. And it's not like proprietary, and it's more like Utao, the way that Utaos are recorded. They were kind of just like gibberish, like blah 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 blah. And you would get the samples from those. And then Vocaloid, and that was for Vocaloid 1 and 2. For Vocaloid 3, 4, and 5, it's more of a actual words. So it'll be like, I love Friday nights. And you would get the samples from those. The biggest issue with the first one is it's harder for the voicers to do that. It's not natural to do, especially with the way that like Vocaloid 1 and 2 had it. It was very tongue. It felt like tongue twisters at sometimes. Vocaloid 3, 4, 5, people have accents. And I do think like some people don't like Maghni English because she has an accent, but it's also because the recording list that was used was more word-based. And I think if she did a method that like Miku did, it would have improved her a lot. And it retains accents more if you do word-based. But also word-based is a lot easier to do for a lot of voicers. The word-based recording list was done for Ivana, Yohioloid. I think every like, other than Ruby, maybe even Ruby. I think it was done for every V3, V4, and V5 afterwards. It was done on like a like I like Saturday evenings. Like it was like words like that, and they would extrapolate the phonemes from that. So I worked on a new method that kind of blends the two to make it easier and a more middle ground, especially with more like focus on diphonetic data that's not as tongue twistery, and allows you that if you do mess up, re-recording that line is not like, you don't have to re-record a huge chunk. It makes it a lot easier that like you could do it like space by space by space if you're like, oh, I messed that up. So yeah, it's still going to have just as good of quality, but it is easier, and it's not also easier a lot easier to program too. Austin said like he looked over and he was like, oh, this is going to be like a huge cinch, and producing voice libraries is going to be a lot quicker than like traditional methods. Is there any chance after Maghni AI is well/done /finished just getting something like VoIdle that would be too different? I don't. Oh, actually, Austin, do you know about VoIdle or Voidle?
I actually just Googled it this whole time, which is why I was kind of quiet. But I guess it's this program that will change your voice to like a more like idle, like blah 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 voice. So maybe they're asking if we would make some kind of voice changer in a way. It's not off the table. That's a pretty cool idea.
That is a cool.
If I got that right.
Yeah, it's
If
like
that's what the idea was.
it's a voice
Oh,
changer.
they said no. I'm wrong. Megasonic voice model. Megpoid? What? They did something with Gumi,
Yeah, they did it
apparently.
with Gumi, and they did it with Yukari, I think was another one.
Really?
Um,
Well, I was wrong.
Magnetona's
Megpoid.
English accent / issues make her more unique and
She-
adorable. I agree. Except it does make it a little bit difficult to use her. That's fascinating. Thanks for sharing. Magnetona is deaf cute, but I don't know how to use her in serious songs. Did you know that you can open Vocaloid DBs like you can just listen to the samples? Data security. Yeah.
Data security.
We know this.
Oh, jeez.
We like, and that's not. It's not a hidden knowledge. People know that like you can open databases in other programs, and that's always been like a thing. But it's not like the worst thing in the world to like hear the raw samples, because we know what they sound like. Period. It's not like you're losing like. it does explain a little bit. I think one beneficial thing is that it explains to people how Vocaloid functions. At least to a somewhat of an extent, which is like a beneficial thing, so that it actually teaches people a way to use it in easier ways instead of it being like, how does this work? Sometimes I feel like when you understand how things work, you get a little bit close to them. Is that even allowed, like, legally? No. It's not allowed. But, you know, and that's the thing is like, we've already talked about this, and we're like, we already recognize that some people can. Some people are going to possibly be able to hack our program, and it happens.
I think it's unavoidable and that'll happen. But I just listened to this Voidal thing. That is so cool. They just say things, and then it sounds like Gumi. I wonder how that works, but I would love to do something like that. That's super cool.
It counts as reverse engineering and is therefore forbidden by the license agreement. Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, I haven't even heard the Gumi version yet. It's very interesting. Let me listen to this.
皆さん、こんにちは。
That's so weird. That is so strange.
皆さん、こんにちは。
Are you listening to the Voidal? The Voidal? It's so interesting. I don't know how it works. It seems like it does something in tandem with the Vocaloid thing.
I understand how it works a little bit. There is a website, and I will post it in the chat later, that could do this based on the JVS speaking corpus. And it was actually a lot closer than Voidal does it. Oh my god, I'm going to have to look it up. Give me one quick second. 1 second. And what you could do is I'll post it in the chat, and it'll explain, like, basically what they did is they probably extrapolated several hundred samples from Gumi and took the timbre of her and created a raw data set off of her. Let me see.
Huh.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure how they do it, because that goes into voice cloning, which
here's this explanation by CDR Sonnen. Voidal is hardly more than an AI that gets an audio input and outputs a different one. Most characters have several models available, but many people still have problems finding one that matches their voice. Okay.
Here you go.
Huh.
There you go. I posted in there another one that had like over 100 different samples that you could use, and it's really impressive.
100 people's voices. Changing 100 people's voices? A system that changes 100 people's voices? Is that what it says?
Yeah. Like, it'll change your voice to 100 different people's voices. So technically, Maghni could do something like that. And although that one only works in Japanese. It uses AI, I know. Voidal is hardly more than AI. Oh yeah, I just read that. So will Maghni AI be good at retaining accents like English? Because I'd very much appreciate stronger accents for the UK-based ones, for example, at some point down the line. Yes, I will say that my method is it will be easier to retain accents and also produce different accents. Like
that's true.
I looked at a good example was, I have a friend, I wanted to test it out, and so I got 3 different people to record lines for my list. No, 4 different people. One of them's Australian, one of them's American, one of them is like East London, so they kind of have a chavish accent. It's very cute. And then another one is Australian. Because I wanted to, and one of them, wait, did I say one of them is Southern? One of them's Southern. And I wanted to see if it would retain it and I could still distinctify which one is which, and it can. A benefit of the list is also that you can also reduce accents. So an example of that would be is if they have a if English is not their first language, but they still speak it. Like, let's say they're French and they speak French. But they have a pretty strong accent in English. It can help reduce it, but I could also still keep it to retain it. So it depends. Like, it depends on, like, our art direction. But yeah, it could still retain accents, or we could even, like, depending on how we view it, we could even make, like, accents a little bit lighter. So that means that certain accents, if they have, like, a pretty strong accent in another language, to the point it affects their speech or their singing, we can actually lower that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just read that. I'd love more Australian-based softness / nuance as an Australian singer who likes to duet. Sweet Anne is all I have. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but it kind of might be. We do have for Maghni, not for Maghni, for Misbah Studios, we do have an Australian singer, but he is not soft. He's got a very, very, very low, deep Australian voice.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming though.
Have you dry tested your custom sampling method yet? What do you? Oh, yeah. I've looked at it and I've seen if it like can like change accents and stuff like versus like because once it's put into the system, like I will say Oliver is, despite several other Vocaloids and other vocal scents being English, like being British, Oliver is pretty much one of the only ones that kept his very British accent. Like Leon and Lola are also British, and Miriam's still pretty British, but like Oliver is very British, which is why people say he sounds like a Victorian ghost. But it's because Oliver like really retained his accent. But it's also just like how the recording lists were set up, because Yohio Lloyd doesn't have as much of an accent. This is his voicer, so it all depends. What do you think about a voice bank for different engines, like the Tohoku Simple Sisters, for example? One thing we actually have thought about is testing how voices, and they wouldn't be released, but we would, because we are not based mostly on our characters, is mostly based on the synthesizer, but we have wondered, like, we have tested like small samples of how the voices will sound in other softwares. We can't really talk about which softwares we've tested, but we have tested the voices in several different softwares to see how we'll synthesize in each. And there is like some with certain ones, it's weird because like one thing I've realized about synthesizers is some voices sound exactly the same in several different synthesizers, and some voices sound completely different. That's even better. Thank you. Oh my god, that sounds amazing. Will the Australian voice with a user interface that's flipped upside down? Yes, it will.
I really like
That
that.
was really funny.
I really like that.
What I meant is if the sample method is if the sampling method is only a concept so far, or if it's in a state where you can listen to it combining and use samples in action in a test environment, it is still mostly a concept, but we already know how it's going to apply because of how we've worked with Vocaloid in the past. Because we know how it's going to end up functioning. We are not at the stage yet that the engine is anywhere close to being completed. So we don't 100% know, and we may end up having to tweak it a little bit. But in the meantime, we have a general, I would say 90% idea of what it's going to end up like sounding like on the engine. We can probably
definitely like, as opposed, I think we know, sorry to interrupt you. Oh my goodness. I think we know more about how the software will work than how it will sound like at the minute, but we know 100% that the recording list is in line with all of like our plans we have with accepting input and the way that our synthing will work. It's very compatible with that. But if it's not, of course, we have quite a bit of time to figure stuff out, but theoretically, everything should go in very smoothly.
Yeah, and we do have like a general idea of how it's going to sound. Like it is basically uses a spectral analysis and uses like, oh my god, let me look at our chart. Give me one quick second. It is, where'd it go? It uses, it is, oh my god. Okay. It uses windowing and I have to remember what that stands for. See, this is why the programming is not my area of expertise. It uses short time Fourier transform, and then it also uses peak harmonic detections and harmonic subtraction. So we do have and also spectral amplitude and modulations. So we do have a general idea of how it's going to sound. It won't be like 100% Like we still don't know 100%, but we know like a good like 80% of what it's going to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
If our computer decides to implode, how easy will it be to deactivate online? Will it be like Miku NT, aka a simple hit matter of hitting a deactivate button on Sonic Wire? We haven't gotten to the stage yet of thinking about like activations and serial numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But we could definitely try to make it super easy to deactivate online.
yeah. The
Mm-hmm.
Utahu voice banks in question are both Hai and I don't want to butcher her name, and the butterfly one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the reply. I fought with unfamiliar accents for so long since I tuned by copying my own voice. Even knowing there's a small
Oh.
chance, maybe later down the line, of something more familiar is nice if you develop it. Clearly,
Mm.
you're Scottish, right? I've always wanted to do like a Scottish style voice. I think that would actually be really fun.
Cool.
Especially like for like more Celtic style music. Yeah, yeah, a Scottish, yes. I gotta go to sleep since it's late, but VocaTone Q&As are always so cozy. Sleep is for the week anyway. Oh,
Aww.
well, that's something that like today is a little bit more of a cozy one than our last one, because it's a lot's going on. We understand that like, oh my goodness, I just started looking at how many people are in this call. Um, yeah, we're we're a little bit more cozy now because it's like it's been a crazy week. We understand that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a crazy week.
It's been something.
It has been.
It's been something.
Yeah, the last one was very cozy too. There are so many more people in the last call though. There were,
Oh
and we also
yeah.
understand that like a lot of people are like, calm down now. I think it was the initial. I think a lot more people were like, I think some people are just like waiting on the 6 months to be over so we can like demonstrate it and, yeah. I haven't had any
Mm-hmm.
good. How you plan to do things? Oh, thank you so much for how you. Yeah. So I haven't had any good related questions / come to mind, but listening to y'all's breakdowns of how you plan to do things are helping. It is very nice to listen to. I think the hour
Oh,
didn't help, but since
well,
for me in Italy it started at 1 in the morning. Oh, yeah, we are. Me and Austin both live in
uh,
Central Standard Time, so that's why we kind of set it to this time.
mm,
Yeah.
okay. So the next time we'll definitely try and keep like a more well, because last time what was
It was
our
2 p.m., but
Q&A
on
was
a
like
Saturday. And the reason that I planned for today was because we already. This was going to be our Q&A day, which is a good thing. Like I said earlier, it's a good thing we didn't list our Kickstarter today because of the riots yesterday.
right, right. So then would the last time we did last time be better, like 2 p.m. Because
Yeah. We can
I don't
do
want people to be like,
earlier the next time as well that we go down the line
yeah,
so that Barham can be here as well. But he is currently asleep since he
yeah.
lives in Germany.
And I don't
Barham
want
is
you
our
guys staying
programmer,
up
by
until
the way.
1 a.m. That's not healthy. Um, yeah, so we'll make sure to start things at a more reasonable time.
Yeah.
Um, oh my goodness.
But
But
this was just to touch on, based on like all the things that we've already went over, confirm some things, and tell everyone like a slight update on what's been going on with the program as well as what we're going to do next time. We won't have a Q&A for a little bit. We will still post updates on Twitter. But yeah, we will end up like doing some things in the we will do a Q&A the next time we have like a major update and we can ask people like what do you guys think because we want to hear your voices. If we do something that
mm-hmm,
like that was one of the biggest things is people were like this is too early. That's the reason we pushed back the Q&A. The Kickstarter is we agree with you guys. That was you guys were right. And I wanted to do I think if we have a thing where we have a major breakthrough or if we like end up having a big announcement that's like a big surprise, we want to see what everyone's like opinions are of it. Like we want to see like how everyone feels, if everyone's like this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, because at the core of it this works two ways. How many members are there in VocaTone and Mizbah?
hmm,
Mizbah has let me think about how many members we have. um
hmm.
I
Are we
think
like distinct in our membership right
yeah,
now?
I
We're
mean I
kind
have
of
my own
like,
members, they're just not working on this project.
okay,
I
I
think they mean
guess
as
I
a
do.
whole. As a whole, I
As a
think
whole,
we have like 20. Wait, one,
Like,
two, three,
so
four.
like the thing is that we have like one giant Discord where we're kind of all adding people who we think can help and who we can like, get on board. I don't think we've really divided them yet, I guess. Because you said you have your Misbah people, and I have people that I
Yeah,
invited, so I guess kind of. But like we have around 20 people in general, and there really isn't like a VocaTone Misbah thing. We're all just kind of like
right.
Maghni.
Yeah, that's why
But
it's the
yes,
Maghni AI
we
development server.
are. Yes, we are a big family, just bigger than before.
Yeah, and that's like I invited a couple people that work on Mizbahs, since including one of my friends who is a guitarist but has experience in synthesizers, not vocal synthesizers, but synthesis as a whole to work on this so that he can look at this too. But he's mostly does like guitar works, and we're developing in Misbah right now a really cool guitar library. It's a guitarlele,
Mhm.
which is like more like soprano guitar. So yeah,
Ooh. In that regard, about the next Q&A, what would you say the next big update would be? Oh, geez. I mean, we'll let you know when that happens. It'll probably be something pretty big. So please look forward to that.
yeah,
If you do more Q&As in the future, can you consider not before school days, aka Fridays and Saturdays?
yeah.
Yes.
This is
Yep,
just the
that makes
launch date
sense.
of the Kickstarter is why we like did this today, so we can like round everything off before we really like start like running, because
Right.
yeah. If you do more, oh yeah, I just said that. Imagine someone
We
make
didn't want to just like, oh, sorry. We didn't want to just be like have nothing for you on 7th and not even just like a text like, oh, sorry, we canceled. It's best to have like a voice thing and a video to go along with it. So this is why it was
right.
kind of today and kind of a bit last minute. But next time it'll be a more reasonable time and it will not be any other day than Friday or Saturday. Um, yeah. Imagine someone would use many different voice banks for creating a musical. For me, I'm thinking of recreating one of Gilbert and Sullivan's musical, The Mikado, using actual Japanese voice banks. That would be amazing.
There was
I would love
actually
to
a
hear that.
oh my god, who's that that jazz person? They do jazz songs in Vocaloid. Oh, they
Who?
did one called Alice in Musicland. It was like a Vocaloid musical, and it was like about like a 12-minute song. It was really cute.
Was it
Poster
that
project,
was
yes, thank you,
yes, okay.
yes, thank you. Yeah, there it is.
I love
Are we
them.
allowed to submit? Maghni could probably help applications on behalf of our friends without their knowledge. Depends on what it depends on if what the friend would react to us emailing them. Oh, they also did a wait. They did a Wizard of Oz. I had no idea. I actually didn't know that
Oh
one.
wow.
I'll listen to
That
that
looks
later.
cute. I'm gonna watch that later.
That's so cute. But yes. Would you guys be open to interviews with the press in regards of to development and later down the line the Kickstarter? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we would definitely be down to press interviews. What did you say about my last question? I didn't hear. What was the last question again?
The
It
last
depends on
question
how the friend would
was
react.
yeah. I know in addition to dictionary synthesizer, if you can guess the phonetics for a word if it's not defined. Are you gonna do something similar? I mean, we
I
could definitely see if we
Vocaloid 5
can.
also has something like that. Let me see. One quick second. It is called a. Give me one quick second. I actually there's a term that I can look up and it actually explains this. It is called. What is it? There's a term for it.
Sounder outer. Yes.
Yes, sounder outer.
Like a
You got it.
transcriber
No,
something.
there's a term for it, and I forgot what it's called, where it can do it based on where is it? There's a term for it, and I remember, but it can do it based on guessings, like approximal guessings, and Vocaloid does it as
Mm,
well. Like previously with Vocaloid 2, like 1, 2, 3, 4, if it wasn't in the dictionary, you couldn't do it. But with Vocaloid 5, you could basically type in any word, and it would have it, based on
right.
guessings.
Hmm. I wonder if we can. I mean, we could definitely bring it up for sure. That's super cool.
I'm sleepy because I'm tired and gotta go to sleep early. Good night. Good night.
Oh, good night. Thanks for coming.
One quick second.
Also, Vocaloid 5 can guess too. Oof. Oof. One sec, I'm adjusting myself. Got my water. Nice. Okay. Natalia, how long do you think we should keep
We can
going?
we can we can end it in a little bit. I'm gonna grab a quick.
I'm just a little hungry.
Same. As mentioned before, are you also able to create dictionaries for each voice bank who do not have a proper language voice bank, as in Chinese to English dictionary? I don't see why you couldn't create like a dictionary, or at least edit the ones that already are existing. I mean, especially since it is presented in a format that would be editable.
Let's take questions for another like 20 minutes. So at like 7:30.
Yeah.
We'll dip because we must eat.
Yeah.
Food is necessary.
Do you have plans to market directly to the Japanese fandom/market? Yes.
Yes, we have plans to directly market to every single market that we have a language in, to be specific. But yes, of course we are. So the dictionary is going to be like a text file, basically.
Yes. It's not a text file, but it's the same thing.
Right.
Making your own dictionary sounds cool. If you're able to do that in Vocaloid, I don't remember. Yeah, you're able to do it in Vocaloid 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they removed it from Vocaloid 5. But also Vocaloid 5 allowed for alternate inputs. I just wanted to say thank you for pushing back the Kickstarter. I want this to succeed. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks. Same for you. Doo-doo Danyan. Oh my goodness. Am I being cyber? No, you're not. I love it. I'm your biggest fan. Don't worry.
Okay, so do you guys have any other questions related to the development right now? Oh, I really do hope the demo you develop helps the Kickstarter down the line. I think it will. Cyberbullying is cool, kids.
Oh my god, no. Please don't get this message
do not
from
cyberbully.
us.
Cyberbullying is not nice.
Cyberbullying is bad.
The good thing
Please
about cyberbullying
don't
is you can always turn off your computer.
Oh my god.
And then throw it out the window and be like, I'm done with the internet forever.
Oh my god. But kids, don't cyberbully. It's not good.
It's not nice. Bullying people is not nice. If you don't have something
Okay,
nice
bye
to say,
guys.
just write it in your journal and then burn the journal. What if you could ask? What if you could ask many Utaitas for voicings? For many different voice banks, for example, Underbar. I do like they would probably have to have their own licensing for how they function. The biggest thing about Utaitas is that they are a pretty voice-based fandom, and as we saw near the beginning and development of Vocaloid was, and we even see this kind of with some others, that some of them would that it was a lot of them were worried about their voices being recreated, but some of them weren't. Some of them were like, this sounds cool. Yeah. Will there be phoneme approximate conversions like with the Mica plugin? I don't see why that wouldn't be too difficult. The Mica plugin was actually pretty simple. Bullying.
I think we're still discussing plugins.
Yeah.
But later on for sure we could definitely look at that.
Bullying.
The Q&A is wrapping up, so just submit your final questions now. Or true, or forever hold your silence. Vocaloid 5 had phoneme approximate conversion naturally, but I don't know specifically. I don't know. Maybe we should see what Vocatro Labs says about it.
Or popular
tells.
I think that, I will say this. This is just me being like, from a business standpoint, the biggest issue with popular toads getting voice banks is if you are producing this with money. And I've thought this too, is why would I use the paid version when the free version exists, unless the paid version is a lot better. But I do think that our version will be quite a bit better than traditional
I guess in a
methods.
way that it's like I could see because we would make more languages for the bank,
True.
it would be
And
better than Utah. Like of
and some
course.
people do treat it like merch.
Yeah,
True. Like
they
I
would
remember
kind of
like
see
one
it
of the
like
biggest things
merch
about
maybe.
Vocaloid boxes is especially with someone like Miku NT is that's that's merch. Her boxes, even though the
Right?
inside had only a piece of paper with like her serial number on it. Um,
Yeah.
so like maybe yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. If we had a Momo
Hmm.
Momone um, Maghni voice, that'd be pretty sick.
Like I get, yeah. I mean, it's like because we did have a plan where later on we would be looking to work with groups of people who could
Yeah,
pass like equality tests with their work, and there's no reason why that group of people couldn't be an existing group of Utao users that, you know, manage this Utao character.
right. Like Maknahachi and Ruby don't intersect because of the language difference, but with the multiple voice banks you're planning, who knows? True. I mean, like, it's not the worst thing. Like, several voice banks, like you said, are available on different softwares, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Like Momo, like one that would be fun is people forget Momo exists. She's
Oh no, I remember Momo.
at least you do, but yeah, people forget Momo Momona exists, and I think that should be a fun should be someone that would be fun to implement. It is a little several of these voices because of their like cultural relations to Utahu. They do have they. I feel like they'd be less likely to because I feel Teto has gotten hints before that she could make her own Vocaloid, but refused. Um, I am also Utahu phobic. I just want to vibe. Utahu is what when it does have some UI things that were a little bit more difficult to work with. But one of the things that was great about Utahu, or still is great about Utahu, is how flexible it is. And anyone can make one, and you can technically do any language, and it's such a flexible program.
Hmm.
That's what I've always loved, and that's one thing that I've always wanted to implement myself. Um,
Yeah. I
just
hope it doesn't sound like I'm putting down Utao. It's just that I love it so much, and I assume everyone else loves it. And any criticism that I give is to people that just nonstop love it. I don't
which
mean to trash on it.
okay,
It's
just
amazing.
curious, which Vocaloid ships do you like? I don't really ship them because to me, I'm like, it's like being like, do you ship the violin with the trombone or the violin with the cello? And you know, I think the violin sounds the best with the ukulele. No,
True.
but yeah, I don't really think about that stuff. Like, I do think certain color palettes look nice together. So like, I think Oliver looks really nice to like some of the like because of his more muted colors would look nice next to someone more vibrant like Rana. But that doesn't mean like I don't really think about I've never been a shipper. Like never in my whole life. Even like when playing like video games where
Mm.
it's like hinted. Ironically, I do like dating simulators.
Jeez. Those are fun though, so, you know.
Is it true that they say Oliver will invite children with similar voices to upgrade, but I think it's better to invite. Wait,
I'm not sure if I understand that. Let me, is it true
I'm
that they
sorry, I
say,
completely. Oh, I think the question is, will if a vocal okay, so I'm going to kind of I think the general gist of this question was basically if a voicer no longer is able to voice a voice, and they kind of give the example of Oliver. I think this is what they're asking. Would we be willing to replace them? And yes. Um,
yes. I think maybe what they're saying, um, are you going to invite a voicer with a similar voice type to Oliver as he has right now? But I think they're saying it would be better to maybe invite a voicer with a louder voice like Len that can create better American and European pop songs.
well,
Um,
the thing about
that would
Oliver
make sense,
was
but Oliver is kind of a like he's targeted to be a choir boy, more of an ethereal aura to him. If
right.
we did want to make more of a younger sounding pop male vocal, I would want it to be a separate character because
Yes.
that does conflict with the image we already have for Oliver.
Or if
But
we
that's
were to
not
do
a bad
that,
idea. We would love to make a singer for English and British English for pop. That would be amazing. But
and
I don't think it should be Oliver because that could change the whole. direction of him,
And that doesn't mean
if
that
that
in
makes sense.
Oliver a Pinned couldn't occur like that. Like Yukari, people always liked
That's
Yukari because she
true.
was very calm, but there was still a Yukari. I don't remember what the terms of her appends were, but she had a solid version as well. And so that doesn't mean that we couldn't do an Oliver version that's more for belting. But Oliver was like, when we developed Oliver, we had a very, well, especially Austin, had more of a, like June and Ray and stuff. The picture, yeah. Oliver had, or Austin had a very pretty, like, I want this to be more classically based. It just so happened that people like Oliver's voice type, so they made Oliver sing in more pop music. But Oliver, it's the equivalent of making like an opera singer like sing the lyrics to WAP.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just that was one of the coolest things about Vocal Sense was that it was so flexible. But yeah, there's nothing like Oliver would still retain a lot of. If we were to ever introduce already existing vocal, we would want it to still retain its already existing qualities, because once again, it's like it's not as much about the character, it's about the actual instrument. In regards to Oliver, someone found a comment. Austin, you want to speak on that?
You left on a known imposter's possible work. So we did try to contact this person regarding future projects. We can't explain any more because that could intersect with future plans. We don't really want to get down and dirty with some aspects of the situation. All we can say is please look forward to what we're doing. And
Yeah.
more explanations will come in the near future as soon as we can get them to you.
Comment left on the known impersonators. Okay. Good answer. I need to oil my chair. I apologize.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, we can't wait to show you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited for all
Oh,
of this. Thank you.
well, we are too. What the heck? I'm glad we could transmit some of our feelings to you guys.
This is all very interesting. I'm glad I could see it. Yes, and we're kind of this. I think one of the business models we're looking for, like showing things up, is a lot like how video game developers are showing like their step-by-step process on developing their new indie game. I've wanted to
I've
use
wanted
ARM
to
slash.
use.
Oh.
Dang, well, you'll be getting them soon, right? They're coming
Oh, I wanted to see if you
very
guys could show us the
soon.
logo, but I remember they had one in the teaser. I can pull up the logo in a second and I'll post it. We do have a logo, yeah. We had to. Our head designer just hated every single one that I showed, and then finally was like, "This one's actually really good." After like 7 logos. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I like it though. It's a fun logo.
yeah, and I think it explains like that this is a music software instead of just being like letters on a screen.
One sec. I'm actually gonna have to go early, because something happened, but it was so nice to talk to you guys. Yeah, have a good
Sure.
night. Sorry, I have to dip out early.
Yeah,
Love you, Nat. Oh my
I'll round
goodness.
off the last 5 minutes of questions.
Okay. See
Okay.
you.
Talk to you later, babe. Bye. Okay, so if there's any like any last questions in the last 5 minutes, I can take them. About like the UI, about any sort of language things, because I know that this is a very international server. So if anyone has any questions about their own languages, I would love to hear them. Or anything about language at all. Weirdest phoneme, like as a whole, I guess the weirdest phoneme would be something like the if we're talking about just like monophonemes, that's not like two phonemes combined. It would be definitely the bilabial trill, the voice bilabial trill, which is like it's like flapping your lips really quickly. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. and it's used in, I think, a West Chinese language and a Central African language is the bilabial trill. What would happen if you saw many people say Oliver Japanese when? Like I said, keep your eyes peeled, and we are interested in seeing what the fandom's interests are. So when it comes to French, I speak the Canadian dialect. Like English, will French eventually have support for other French dialects? Really great question. Okay, so this is the same thing that happens in Arabic. So we combined British and American English as basically one thing because there is close enough proximity that you don't need to use different phoneme sets. With French dialects, it wouldn't need to be its own phoneme set because there's not a lot of major differences. Like, even there is you could use the same and it would still produce the same results. Yeah, but a thing that I actually was going to say is, like, I included Arabic as one. However, there are basically, I'd say, 3 major dialects in Arabic. And they're usually called, like, Eastern, Standard, and Western. And Eastern usually applies to, like, Crescent Arabic, so that includes, like, the Hijazi accent is, like, the big one for the Eastern. So, like, and then the Standard one is Modern Standard Arabic, which is based off Fusha. And then the Western one, which is usually based off Egyptian, sometimes Moroccan, but usually Egyptian. And that's because of, like, you know, cultural ties. And so we were approaching that. I was like, well, it wouldn't be very effective to create 3 different dictionaries, like 3 different whole entire build from the ground up, especially if they work exactly the same. So what we did do is for Arabic especially, would the Arabic voice banks include different dialects? Okay, good question. We did include a bunch of different phonemes, especially from the Fusha dialect, not Fusha, from the Hijazi accent, a little bit of Iraqi dialect, some of the ones like Darija, which is like Moroccan dialect, and Egyptian, and a little bit of Algerian, so that you can kind of choose. The default is going to be Fusha, but because you can select between different phoneme sets, you can have it be more like the Egyptian is the default one if you wanted that one. So that's the way that we had it, because there's so many different dialects in Arabic, because Arabic has spread so far so long ago, like the 700s. So yeah, another one that we were thinking about working with is like something similar to French, because it's difficult to create those as 2 separate things, but like for like Quebecois French, yeah, but like we'll see. We'll definitely see that when we approach it, because especially with like Quebecois French or like Castilian versus like Latin American Spanish, there's going to be a way that we're having to think of like how we should do it approaching 2 different dialects. What would happen if you Japanese all over will there be editing phoneme transitions, like how long the consonants go into vowels? Yes. Since you mentioned it, what about Japanese dialects? There's been, I think the biggest one is people are going to, and something that I've noticed that's interesting about Japanese is Japanese dialects are really interesting in the sense that most people follow the Tokyo dialect, including in like historical shows. So let's say we're doing a historical anime based in the 1600s, which would have been the middle late Japanese period of language. Japanese then sounded a lot different. They had actually pre-nasalized consonants on certain sounds, and an example of that would be like you can actually read that from like old Portuguese phonetics. So if we were to do different dialects, I would really like that. The biggest issue though is like when you're marketing to different crowds, you have to think about what they want, and so like if most of them are going to probably prefer more TV dialects versus like string at different styles. I heard you mention vowel morphing. What is that? The ability to like morph the vowels in like any way, shape, or form, and like make it a little bit more open or closed, and also the blending between 2 vowels. So instead of it being like I or like I, you can actually like choose the transition point. Not only for like diphthongs in the same word, but for 2 different notes. So you can actually choose the crossfade, so it makes it sound a lot more... it'll sound nice on certain sounds. You don't have to choose between the 2. Aren't Japanese dialects more based on language itself and not accent? No, there is actually... there actually are some differences in accent. Like the Okinawan accent, I looked up some differences, and there are some differences in, like, in between sounds. Like, for example, like, their is a lot more like ah, so it's a lot more open. And so there are some accental differences. However, Japan has their own... they've had a pretty standardized way of keeping language. I can't remember if it was asked last time after all the language... after all the languages mentioned in the announcement are added, will other languages be considered? Yes. I saw a lot of people wanted Italian. That was a major thing that we saw that people wanted. So we are going to work towards Italian, and we have looked at some other languages and like what people want in the fandom and adding those. It will be a lot easier to implement languages versus traditional methods. When you talk about vowel morphing, is that VOSIM? VOSIM. That is like the chip speech character? What do you mean by vowel morphing? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Oh! Wait, do you mean like a like vowel simulation, like an oscillator? Wait, can you hear me? Okay. Do you mean like formant synthesis? Oh, okay. Wait. You said yeah. I don't know if that's to you understanding if you can hear me. And this will be the last question, by the way, guys. I'm pretty hungry, and I can smell the curry in the fridge. VOSIM, voice simulation sound synthesis, is the idea that by employing repeating tone burst signals of variable pulse duration and variable delay, a sound output of high linguistic and musical expression power can be obtained. That would be a question for the programmer, as I actually don't know how it's implemented. But yeah, I will definitely look into that, and I will ask him so I can get an answer for you. Okay, guys, that was the last question. Thank you so much, and I will put this on YouTube, and I will get it out to you guys. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have an amazing day.